Yo, 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 yo. What's good, everybody? Let's get into it. This is the first woman who was ever drafted by an NBA team, and it happened to be the Utah Jazz. So the Utah Jazz were the New Orleans Jazz when they drafted her. They said, hey, here's a shout out to you, Miss Ma'am. She passed away this week. If you guys didn't see, if you guys didn't know, if you guys never heard of this story, it's a story that I never heard of before she passed, unfortunately. And I'm very ashamed to say that because I know a lot of people in the community know her, knew her, heard of her story and stuff through the history. That's something I think that just says a lot because I wasn't in that right I wasn't alone in that feeling and stuff. I know there were a lot of other people who said the exact same thing on Twitter, and they said the first time they heard of her is when she passed away. Anyways, here is a 35-second clip that the Jazz put up of her. Good turn around. Good. Good. Mm. Bill Russell, 2-3. It did not matter. Give me that. Oh, hey. Oh, give me that. One dribble into the middle of the lane. Nice leaner. Yes, sir. Championship. Okay. Yeah. What else? Rest in peace. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. But I saw that was only 35 seconds. So I was like, maybe I should react to a documentary. So let's pull up a documentary here. We can do this because we're on Zoom, man. I feel so free with the lack of editing and stuff. I just kind of just do things. What should I react to? The 6 minutes? 5 minutes? I'll do the 5 minutes since it was ESPN. I'm not going to 21 minutes, you guys.
Welcome back to Images in Black and White. One of the most significant stories in sports since the early 1970s has been the growth of women's athletics, the most dramatic being the rise of women's basketball. In 2004, the U.S. Women's Olympic Basketball won a third consecutive gold medal. But the stage for U.S. nomination was set in 1976, when women's basketball became a medal sport in the Olympics. The U.S. captured a silver medal in Montreal with players like Pat Summitt, Ann Myers, and Nancy Lieberman. But the engine of the team, the most dominant college player of her era, was a quiet storm named Lusia Harris.
Wow. Shout out Nancy Lieberman. Shout out to Big Three. Rest in peace, Pat Summitt.
The fact that Lucy did swing at this basketball. You look back now and you think how significant it was.
Shout out Ann Myers.
After the game, Ann Myers said, "Do you realize you made history?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "You scored the first basket in women's Olympics." This kind of stands out in my mind. A record that will never be broken.
When
Shout out Mississippi.
The history of the game, you know that Lucy had the impact that will always be remembered by those that understand the first ever Women's Olympics in 1976. Lusia Harris helped us win a silver medal. Without her, we don't win a silver medal.
Harris led the Olympic team in scoring and rebounding, averaging 15.2 points and 7 rebounds. She was also a woman of contrast.
Lucy is the nicest, most thoughtful, gentle, kind individual.
She was quiet. She was more reserved, timid off the court. Yeah, she didn't speak up. It was very soft-spoken.
But when the game starts, she's tough. She's intense. She's physical.
Nobody could stop her. I tell you, once I got out on that floor, that ball was mine. Her power in the game, there were not any centers built like her. And once she got it, she was so quick going to the basket. And when she went up for a shot, it was almost like everyone else just fell away from her.
She was like Shaquille O'Neal. So strong and physical, but great hands and great touch.
Give me that.
And a dominance.
Harris was born in 1955 in Minter City, Mississippi, and starred at Amanda Elsie High School in nearby Greenwood. Delta State University is building a women's basketball.
Shout out Greenwood. Shout out Delta State.
Although the school was less than an hour away from home, Harris found herself in a different world.
She was the only African American on her team at Delta State, and to cross over into the racial barriers of Mississippi in the 1970s, there had been a certain sort of isolation.
And the 2022, I'm just playing. This is a joke, somewhat.
People would say things from the stands, but I would just brush it off because I said it's just part of the game. You know, trying to get me distracted from what I'm doing.
Harris blocked out the taunts and led Delta State to 3 consecutive AIAW national championships. The 6'3" center finished as the school's all-time leading scorer. In 1980, she became an assistant coach at Delta State before getting the head coaching job at Texas Southern 4 years later.
Shout out Texas Southern. Shout out Cynthia Cooper Dyke.
Returned to Cleveland, Mississippi as head coach of the Allen.
Of all the accomplishments that I had made in women's basketball and for Delta State, it was a disappointment not to be asked.
When you think about Lucy Harris, you know that she put Delta State on the map. She broke ground for women's basketball and paved the way for so many other players that are playing today.
Harris was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame in 1992. But this pillar of women's basketball has one dream yet to be fulfilled.
Pat Summitt, Nancy Oliva, and Myers, they are still in the media and they are still well known.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people still do not know Lusia Harris.
Mm.
So I want to be known too.
When we return,
Woo! Lord have mercy. Oh my goodness. All right. Oh man, hold on. Let me show my face. We have to do a better job of that. That's why it's so important. That's why it's so important right there when you're talking about highlighting other players, other programs, other people. When people say it's important to tell Black women's stories, when people say it's important to make sure you highlight the Black players in W and the disparities of the coverage of white players and Black players, that's why it's so important right there, man. The first woman, the only woman to be drafted into the NBA, didn't play in the NBA because she was pregnant and she also thought it was a publicity stunt by the NBA trying to do something. But someone that Shaq called one a journalist and had an entire conversation about how important it was to tell her story and to make sure to keep her legacy alive. Someone that Pat Summitt said reminded her of Shaquille O'Neal before Shaquille O'Neal. Someone that physically dominant at the center position on the women's side of the game. To put a school like Delta State, all due respect, is like D2, right? Delta State is like D2. All due respect to Delta State, but to put Delta State on the map like that to the point where you have Pat Summitt, the GOAT of her time at least, you know, because I know I have a lot of UConn visitors, but the GOAT of her time, to have Pat Summitt up there saying Delta State, and she built Delta State D2. Delta State didn't promote her enough. It's a lot of people that haven't promoted her enough. I feel if I didn't know who it was, I know I'm younger. I was born in 95. You know, I guess in the wide scheme of things, I know that's older than a lot of people, but that's still young compared to, you know, Lucy Harris and everybody else. But the fact that she said it herself, all three people in those that did the interviews for this story were people I've seen my entire lives. Not even as diehard, you know what I'm saying, women's game like fan my entire life, you know, just as a casual fan, just as a casual basketball, you know, fan. I knew who Nancy Lieberman is. I know who Pat Summitt is. And I seen Ann Myers on my TV screen all of my life. And for the best player to be Lucy Harris on that team on the Olympics, the most dominant player on that team, and to not even to say, hey, herself while she was living, I want to be talked about too. And I didn't know who she was until she passed away. That hits, man. It hits. It's important, man. It's important work that we do in the media. It's important work that we do on social media. Sports Stream Network, you know, salute to you. I don't agree with all your takes at all, but I appreciate the coverage of shouting out to Rakia Jackson, shouting out to Shakira Austin, shouting out to Amisha Williams Holiday from Jackson State, who should be drafted. The WNBA's only drafted a handful of players from HBCUs in its history. And I believe Amisha Williams Holiday definitely deserves the opportunity to be drafted by a WNBA team from Jackson State this season. Yeah, but let's continue on. The work that we're doing is important. The work that we're doing here is important. It has meaning. And I just hope that we continue to highlight it all and understand and realize why we're highlighting it all. Because it matters to these people, and it matters to history, and it matters to, like, I know she's had the New York Times and ESPN and so do documentaries on her throughout the years, but man, if I didn't know her, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I didn't know her, and I know who Ann Myers is, I've seen her on my TV my entire life. I know Pat Summitt and Nancy Lieberman is. They've often described Nancy Lieberman and Cheryl Miller as the greatest woman, you know, basketball players of all time before there was WNBA. You know, it's like, it's just crazy, bro. It's like Lucy Harris, never heard of her. I don't know. I'm repeating myself here, but you guys catch my drift. It's important that we highlight all of these women's stories so they can make sure they get the adequate flowers they deserve while they're living. You know, the flowers and the honor and respect that I'm giving, you know, Lucy Harris right now, the physical can't hear it, the physical can't see it, the physical won't be here to receive that message on the other end. That's kind of just like, just putting it out there. Congratulations, one of the greats, you know, job well done. Dominant big before there was any dominant big in women's basketball. Brittany Griner, decades before Brittany Griner, decades before Shaquille O'Neal. Man, it's important. It's important work that we're doing right now, man. It's bigger than ball. Yeah, it's bigger than ball, man. Let's continue to highlight these voices. Let's continue to support these outlets. Let's continue to pay attention to everybody, man. I know this sounds like a cheesy, like, all lives matter, everybody get on your feet and head to the polls type of speech. But it's just real, man. Melissa Smith, salute. Oh, man. All right, anyways, I'm just running in circles at this point. I hope you guys have a great night, great day whenever you're watching this. Until next time. This is Road to 2K subs if you're new to the channel.
This right here is a very, very, very sad song.